Welcome, everybody. Thanks for attending today's talk on this. If you're in Charlottesville, it's pretty wet out there, so glad your internet connection was working. I'm Carolyn Merrick. I'm the program coordinator here at the center, or a program coordinator. There's several of us, and we are here today with Rebecca Kendall and Alex McGrarry. They're going to be talking to us about the 5 core human needs and basically stress and how to reduce stress. So thank you so much for coming. If you haven't already muted yourself, please do, and we'll get started. Okay.
Thanks so much, Carolyn.
Yep, you're welcome.
Thanks for joining us today, everybody. I am Rebecca Kendall, and I work with the Community Mental Health and Wellness Coalition. We are a group of all of the different behavioral health, mental health, and substance use service providers in the Charlottesville-Albemarle region. And we work on coordinating different organizations to do planning, advocacy, public education around mental health and substance use. And I'm going to let my colleague Alex introduce herself.
Hi, everybody. I'm Alex. I am also part of the prevention team, but my particular position actually focuses on prevention with high school age students and families in the Albemarle County area. So we do many of the same types of things, trainings, educating families and kids, but more geared towards that population. So I'm excited to be able to join Rebecca and all of you today to talk about stress and how to hopefully decrease it a little bit during this time.
Thanks so much. So Carolyn, you have to enable my screen share. Nope.
It should.
Nope, I'm
Okay.
there. Sorry.
All right. No worries.
So we are here today to talk about 5 universal needs that we all have, regardless of whether you're teens in the high school Alex works for, or older adults, or children. There's research has shown that there's 5 core needs that we all have, particularly during community crisis and stressful times like the pandemic. And along with those core needs, there are actions that we can all take every single day to help address those needs. So we want to make this a conversation and engaging presentation. We have a number of slides we'll go through, and we have a couple exercises. We'll have question and answer at the end. But we wanted to just start, first of all, with a fun way to kind of check in about how everybody's doing today. So you should see a number of different animals and furry friends here that express different feeling states. And so we were going to launch a poll here just to take a little pulse of the group to see how people are feeling. And you will have a chance to answer A, B, C, D, E, or F, how you're feeling today. Looks like we've got a lot of folks feeling like our friend the chimpanzee here. So it's just kind of interesting. We've got some all of the above and some happy elephants and cuddly elephants. Maybe folks are feeling kind of contemplative today. That's maybe what I would call the chimpanzee, but this is just a fun way of taking the pulse in the group. We wanted to be able to start with having folks be able to check in with themselves. So thank you for doing that. And
I'm glad to see nobody's the angry dog solely. Always good news. Hopefully it stays like that
Right.
through the training.
Right. I felt a bit like the cat biting the piano throughout the week, but not right now, which is great. So we're going to move forward. Hopefully okay, so that's when my thing doesn't cooperate. I'm going to stop my screen share and come back. So today we were going to talk about the 5 core needs in times of community crisis. This is a time of many stressors. So during the pandemic, we know that people may have stress about their personal health, about fears about COVID itself, concern about how family members are doing. There's financial concerns. We're all more socially isolated and not seeing friends and family members the same way that we may be used to, which is difficult for everyone. There's more challenges just with daily activities, getting groceries, going to the store. It just takes much more mental energy to track all the things we need to track to be safe. Some of our normal coping mechanisms and recreational activities are things that we can't do anymore. It's also been a time of much more political polarization. People have reported a lot of stress about the election, and there's groups in the community very much impacted by racial trauma and injustice. And so these are all stressors that we're all experiencing. It may be that we experience different parts of these things, but it's stormy seas right now. And we're all on the stormy seas. We may be on different boats, but the seas are stormy for all of us. So it's absolutely normal for people to be feeling more distress right now. And we know within the organizations that we work for and data that we're looking at nationally that people are stressed and struggling. The good news is that there's already been a lot of research on how to help people cope during times of community crisis like this. So there's been research done after September 11th and the attacks on the Twin Towers, how to support psychological resilience in survivors and community members in New York at the time, or how people cope with a natural disaster. And what that research found is that there's really 5 core needs that everyone has, regardless of age, regardless of gender, race, ethnicity, social economic status, that these are 5 universal needs that people have in times of community crisis. And they are safety. We all have a need to feel safe in the world. And that's also known in this model as taking cover. We all need a sense of being able to calm. So when we're stressed, our nervous systems get activated. We feel an adrenal rush, cortisol kicks in, all of the biochemicals of stress kick in, and calm, creating calm is one of our core human needs. We all have a human need for connection during these times. And this is a really big one right now during the pandemic because it's one of the things that have been most impacted. And so we'll talk today about finding creative ways to connect like we are today with this group, like you all do through the center. But connection is one of those core human needs. And then competence is another core need. What that means is being able to make plans and take charge of your life to address what is different, or address the new normal, or address the challenges during a period of time. So during this period of COVID and isolation, physical distancing, competence is having a plan for how do I get groceries. Confidence is the last of those human needs, and that's about maintaining hope in the future. The thing that's really important about all of these is they're 5 core human needs, but what each of us needs in each of these areas is a little different. It's all personalized. We're all different human beings with different experiences, different connections, different things that we resonate with and that work for us in times of stress. And what's really important is that we all draw on the things that work for us in times of crisis. So we're going to take some time today to just be able to think about that a little bit, and hopefully you will come away with some tools and ideas about things that ways you can support these 5 core needs for yourself. So this model about these 5 core needs, it's called psychological first aid. There's another version of it called stress first aid that is used within workplace teams, like firefighters, for example, have teams that use this model to reduce stress. But this is a recent Washington Post article saying that this time during the pandemic, we should all know psychological first aid and practice these basics. And so we're going to share again a little bit more about that today. But one of the key takeaways about psychological first aid is that we want to take mini steps every day to address those 5 core needs. And it's not about huge changes in your life. It's about changing small things that you have control over to help address those core needs. Is there any questions so far?
If you have a question, you can either put it in the chat or you could unmute yourself.
Okay, well, we'll
think we're good.
Moving along. Great.
So Rebecca went through those 5 core needs, and we're going to take some time to kind of break down each one of those, share some examples. You'll have chances to be interactive. We've really like to try to make things as discussion-based as possible. That's hard sometimes, but if you want to share something, feel free to drop it in the chat, and Carolyn is going to help us monitor that, and we'll give you chances to unmute and join us with sharing and kind of brainstorming some things. So the first step or first need is safety. Taking cover is sometimes what it's referred to in this particular model. But here we really look at safety in terms of our physical safe, our basic needs, and then we start to look at things that are in our control. So basic needs being shelter. Where are we? Do we feel safe in our immediate environment? What can you do around your home, around places that you have to go if you have to go to the doctor? What can you do to stay safe and to increase your sense of safety? So some of those things, during the pandemic that have been shared with us are monitoring your exposure circle. So identifying what you're comfortable with, who are you around, and how safe are they being? Are you comfortable with that? So really just monitoring that and implementing your boundaries. It's okay to say no. And I think that that's such a big piece right now, is that it's hard to say no, and we feel bad for saying no. I feel bad for saying no, but I have to remember that if I say yes and I don't feel safe, how am I going to feel after that? So just remembering that. And sometimes it's helpful to create a plan ahead of time before you're asked to do something or step out of your comfort zone during this time. So being very specific about what your boundaries are and what you're comfortable doing. And another big piece that I want to touch on is our access to health and ability to monitor our symptoms. So we, especially right now with the pandemic and now flu season coming on, we know what the average flu feels like, but a lot of those symptoms are the same as COVID may present, and that's scary. So how do we stay safe? Who do you talk to? Who is your go-to person if you start to be concerned about a symptom or access to healthcare, doctors, that kind of thing? So creating that plan with a loved one or someone that you are exposing yourself to can be really helpful, just bringing that stress level down a little bit before there's a concern. And as inconvenient and non-personable as it is, many places are having Zoom telehealth doctor appointments just like we're doing today. So that is available. But trying to, know how to do that before the need is immediate. And practicing routines. So safety, when we talk about safety, again, with infants all the way through adulthood, routine is safe for us. We feel safe when we know what to expect, when we know what's coming next. So what does your routine look like every day? Does your routine include things that create safety around you during the pandemic, like washing your hands more frequently, maintaining that social distancing? Does your environment allow for you to do that? And how can you incorporate that into a routine that feels more normal than abnormal during this time? And we all hope, I don't want this to be normal or last normal for very long. I refuse to think that it is our new normal. So, but in order to feel safe, creating a new normal routine during this time, and hoping to get back to my old routine and your old routine. And then just having a plan again for that what if this happens, and that can reduce that anxiety. I always like to share, I saw a picture one time and it was of 2 cups. And it explained both cups were had the same amount of water or liquid in them, but it was presented as if this is the stress that I'm holding. This person, so the person on my left held the cup of stress for an hour, while the person on the right held that same cup of stress for days. And even though they were holding the same stress, they were stressed about the same things, the person holding it much longer felt the impact. So we're trying to gear towards, we know that this is stressful, but what can we do to kind of take the load off of it a little bit, not make it so heavy on us. Go to the next one, Rebecca. So the next one is creating calmness in our lives. So how do we do this? focusing on strategies that have worked for you in the past. So if anybody during this, if something comes up in your mind that you do right now or you have done in the past that's worked for you to feel calm, feel free to put it in the chat box. But focusing on those strategies and incorporating them into that routine, your daily routine. I personally don't drink enough water. So someone suggested I create an alarm on my phone to drink water. So every like 20 minutes, a little beep will go off and it's like, oh, let's drink water. And it makes me feel much calmer, makes me feel, and I see Barbara's drinking her water now. So, what can you incorporate into your routine that helps you feel calm? Is it taking a walk? Is it doing some deep breaths? Is it doing an art activity or something that brings you joy? Scheduling times to do those things and making it a priority. We oftentimes put those things to the side, but we need those things more now than ever. And that will help us kind of hold that space for ourselves to focus on our own needs and bringing some joy back into our stressful lives. The news right now, as Rebecca had mentioned, is full of negativity and controversy. It's full of fear and concern of what the future is going to look like with the pandemic and safety concerns and the flu coming back in. So reducing that. If the news is bringing anxiety, if it's bringing concern, reduce it. Give yourself 10 minutes a day to catch up on the news and then step away from it. And that's, newspapers, TV, social media, internet, all of those forms. And physical activity and good sleep. So remembering that sleep is just as important as physical activity. If we're not sleeping well, then our brains are not functioning well. Going to bed on time or giving yourself an extra 30 minutes in the morning to relax and let yourself sleep in a little bit, making sure that you have a good routine with that. Physical activity, integrating walks, doing a online exercise over Zoom with a family member or with each other. If you guys can set up groups to do things like that. All good, wonderful ways to interact and also get that physical activity in each day. I'm going to skip breathing because we're going to actually practice an exercise together if you guys want to join me in just a minute. So touching on nutrition and hydration, water, so important. Keeping hydrated, remembering to do that, not getting to the end of the day and realizing you've had a couple of sips and that's it. And making sure you're eating 3 meals, 3 routine meals a day, allowing yourself to have some nutritious snacks throughout the day, whatever makes your body feel good. And we want to fuel our bodies so that they're able to function properly and support us throughout our day. You can go to the next slide, Rebecca, please. All right. So here we have a slide or a video, and it's going to walk you through doing a deep breathing exercise that I love. But I want to touch on a couple of things just before we dive into it. So in this particular breathing exercise, if you guys would join me, you can close your eyes if you'd like to, if you're comfortable doing that. You don't have to do it, close your eyes. But the idea is to focus on creating a consistent rhythm of breathing and focusing on that breath. So taking a deep breath each time. And the video itself is going to prompt you to breathe in quietly through your nose for 4 seconds, and then holding that breath for a count of 7 seconds. Then exhaling forcefully through the mouth, oftentimes making a whoosh sound for 8 seconds. So a ratio of 4, 7, and 8. Some days, 7 seconds, I can't hold my breath that long. I'll get dizzy, have a headache. So the idea is the ratio is important to create that rhythm. So if you want to breathe in for 2 seconds and hold it for 3.5 seconds, and then exhale for 4 seconds, that is totally fine. You can change the ratio to meet what your body is telling you, because we want this to feel good and relaxing and not to be a struggle, not to create discomfort in us. It's supposed to relax us. So we will go ahead and start the video.
This is a deep breathing exercise that will allow your body and mind to become calmer. Go ahead and make yourself comfortable as you gently close your eyes. You'll inhale through your nose for a count of 4, hold the breath for a count of 7, and exhale through your mouth for a count of 8. Don't worry if you aren't exact here, just do your best. Inhale, 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And exhale. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Good. Inhale, 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And exhale. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You're doing a good job. Inhale, 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And exhale. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Keep going. Inhale, 4. Hold for 7. And exhale, 8. Let it all go. Feel the stress release and your shoulders soften. Okay. Inhale, 4. Hold for 7. And exhale, 8. One more time. Inhale, 4. Hold for 7. And exhale, 8. you can take a few more deep breaths or allow your breathing to return to its natural rhythm as you breathe through your nose. Hopefully, you feel a little more relaxed at this point. When you're ready, gently open your eyes and sit quietly for a moment before you get up.
Okay, coming back. Taking deep breaths throughout the day, giving yourself that time to step away from whatever it is that you're doing, coming away from your thoughts, not letting them be too heavy, and breathing in and out, and doing it for as long as you feel is comfortable. That first one, I didn't make it. I didn't hold my breath for 7 seconds. I really had to work up to that. And noticing when it was too much and agreeing with my body that it was okay to let it go. That felt good. We're going to move into what I like to call a health wheel. And on the next slide, you'll see a wheel that kind of breaks down our health here and ways to respond to our body and give ourselves both the physical and mental attention that we can benefit from to decrease our stress. And this can be used anytime, but it breaks it down into 8 different sections. And after we cover our immediate safety needs, then we can focus on these strategies to calm ourselves. Because if our basic needs aren't met, then we're not going to be very successful at calming ourselves and reducing the intensity of the stress. So the idea of the calm stage is really to not eliminate our stress, not take it away, but just to reduce it. So this wheel, and we'll share these slides so that you guys have this, but it breaks it down. So distance from media overload is one of them, and taking a step back, unplugging ourselves from the media and not overdoing it. Breathing. So what we did just now is something that we call the 4-7-8 breathing exercise. But there are lots of different breathing exercises out there. So this one includes a couple of other ones that can be easily done and found. The square box is very similar, but you're going to kind of create a square, breathing in and holding as you draw the sides, breathing out as you go across the bottom, and holding as you go back up. Making sure that you're breathing into your stomach and then filling from your stomach up into your chest. And breathing out, same thing, you're going to release from your chest, from your lungs, and then out of your stomach. So it takes some focus to do that. Grounding is one that I also love, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 grounding. Looking around and using our senses and our immediate atmosphere and setting. So 5 things that you see, 4 things that you feel, 3 things that you hear, 2 things that you smell, and 1 thing that you can taste. That can just really bring us back and help ground us to the safety that is around us. Being creative, we talked about drawing, playing music, knitting, baking, anything that really gets your hands involved, is hands-on, can get your brain kind of functioning and focusing on what it is that you're doing. It can help move you really from a sense of survival and need for safety into more of an emotional space that you can connect with what you need. So in this case, bringing that stress level down. So focusing on the joy that it's bringing you. Physical movement, helping, helping somebody do something, maybe reorganizing your house or your room. Maybe that's your physical movement, really any movement, taking a walk, going to get the mail. I wish I had a mailbox. Unfortunately, I live in a place that we don't have mailboxes, so I don't get to do that. But dancing, any kind of movement that you can incorporate. Taking regular breaks for yourself. So you don't have to do anything on your breaks. You can just sit back and close your eyes, take some time away from the computer. Give yourself that permission to do that, because we need it and it's okay. And then mindful eating. We often talk about nutritious foods, and sometimes I just really need chocolate. I really need a treat, and that's okay too. Being mindful about giving yourself that freedom to say, this would really be helpful right now to me. And then focusing on the texture, the weight, the smell, the taste. So you can use that grounding exercise there too. And sleep hygiene. So removing technology, 60 to 90 minutes before bedtime, creating a normal routine that really tells your body you're ready for bed, we're prepared. And moving into connection. So connection is something that we have lost with the pandemic, and that has been really, really hard. We have to learn new means of connection. And I think that that's the hardest, because we don't want to, but we can. And that's how we're going to reduce that sense of stress. So some ideas that I come up with and that I've heard other people integrate into their lives are scheduling regular dates and connecting virtually or by the phone. I think Rebecca's kids are routinely calling their grandparents, and that has become a ritual for them, something that's really important. Writing letters, journaling, sharing through stories. And holidays and celebrations, that's so hard because we're used to being with people, being with groups of people, possibly traveling or having people travel to see us. So how can we do that differently? And though this picture down in the corner of the kids on the outside of the window and you see someone on the inside of the window makes me really sad, it also makes me really happy because we can do that. We can see each other and still be safe and feel safe about it. We just have to be creative. I know my grandmother, she is doing a bring your own everything. So we have these spots set up outside in the yard, and if it's raining or it's cold, it is what it is. So all the spots are 6 feet apart. You have a little box, and you have to bring your own drinks. You have to bring your own chairs, blankets, water, food. Like nobody's sharing anything, but we can have that connection and still feel safe about it. So here I want to open it up and see if you guys have done anything or if you've thought about ways to connect with family and friends that we might want to share with everybody.
So again, you can put your suggestions or things you've done in the chat, or you can unmute yourself to share with the group, whatever you prefer.
While we're thinking, I want to share a story of, it's actually my niece and she's very young, but thinking about learning a new way to connect. And she has always been told or been taught sharing and playing with other kids, you know, being kind and inviting people to play with her. And now she's having to learn a whole new set of rules. And it's confusing. And I talked to her one day afterwards, and she just looked really confused. And why can't I play with those kids? Why can't I, you know, go over there? And we had to, her mom and dad explained to her why. And she looked really sad, but she understood, or she, you know, seemed to understand. And I thought, you know, as young as she is, it's the same with every person, regardless of age or state or area of the world right now. We are learning a new way of connecting to people and having to learn new boundaries that I don't think anyone really likes. And it's really uncomfortable. So just seeing that, put it in perspective that this is hard for everyone, and relearning rules and boundaries is not anything that we wanted to do. Let's see.
So you may have heard us say a couple of times about building a plan, creating a plan. And that's what this core need is about. It's about taking action to address the things that have changed in your life. So again, this is a model that comes from times of community crisis. So if somebody was displaced from their home because of a hurricane, building a sense of competence means making a plan to, okay, what do I need to do next? And when am I going to do it? And how am I going to do it? Is there some new information I need? Is there some new connection I need? And so if we translate that to right now with the pandemic, it also connects back to all of the other core needs we already talked about. So building a plan around safety, to know how you're going to go to the grocery store and feel safe. Having that plan and building that routine, we've already said, is a way of helping to reduce stress by celebrating the small achievements. And so that's another part of building this sense of competence and can-do spirit of, I know how to go to the store and do that and feel comfortable. I know when they have senior hours, and that's important for me, and I go during those times. So this is about setting your priorities and figuring out steps. It might be about kind of redefining expectations for a day. It takes longer to do things because there's a lot more steps. And so recognizing that, building that time into your plans is an important way of reducing stress. Another part of keeping a can-do spirit and building a plan is to try to be really specific about when and how you're going to do things. So research on habit formation really points to the fact that it's important to identify really specifically what are the habits you're going to change, and to aim small and simple to start, but to make those things specific and measurable and achievable, realistic, and time specific. So that might be something like, I'm going to remember to do deep breathing after I come in the house and wash my hands every day. Every time I walk in the house, I'm going to wash my hands, and then that is going to be a reminder to me to do deep breathing. And so that's how the can-do spirit and competence and building a plan connects back to the other parts of the 5 core needs. So you might do that around planning a connection with somebody. One of the ways that we have all been needing to develop new skills is around Zoom and just learning to be able to connect with people via Zoom, and to feel a sense of pride in learning those things and giving yourself the time to be able to learn those things. We're all on all kinds of new learning curves, and it's important to recognize that, to be patient with yourself, and to give yourself the support that you need in that kind of learning process. So I've included a little link in here. So if you have the slides, this is a nice, simple little tutorial about using Zoom to stay connected during coronavirus. So the last core need is about maintaining hope and confidence in the future. And this, again, like all the other core needs, is very, very personalized. What makes you feel hopeful about the future is very different than what someone else may feel. So some of the more universal things that we can do are to celebrate successes, to acknowledge successes. Wow, I had this gathering with my friend outdoors and was able to have a walk, and it felt comfortable, and we, made our plan and had a visit and to celebrate that. Practicing gratitude is really very well researched way of maintaining a sense of hope. Volunteering is also another way to maintain a sense of hope. There's a variety of ways that people can volunteer from a distance. Faith and spirituality obviously play a huge role for people, and whatever that means to you is an important way to stay connected to spirituality and faith. You might stay connected to a sense of hope and confidence through your family or through children, grandchildren, seeing young people, and just knowing the goodness of young people or family members that you are deeply connected to. And then I wanted to add just encouragement, because the news can be very challenging and feel very heavy, to actually seek out good news, to take the step and make the effort to read news that is devoid of COVID, devoid of political polarization, and that focuses exclusively on human goodness. And so these are a couple of different examples here. So I had the ever widening circles, has a number of different, categories that you can find about bird migration and the surprising ways your grandparents' experiences shaped you. So there's all kinds of wonderful things in there. I won't go further. I know we're getting tight on time. And then lastly, podcasts are another great way to be able to tune in. So I have a couple others that I've shared here. So we wanted to make a moment for questions and see if folks had any questions or discussion items.
Well, I actually have one that it's a silly thing, but some of you on this Zoom might be able to relate. So there's the whole thing about sleep hygiene. Well, it's been interesting to not always be able to sleep, and then to stress about that. So I've worked on when I get up in the middle of the night and I can't sleep, I don't stress about it. So I'll just do something like read a book or whatever. And that's really changed. Even though if I'm working on 6 hours or 2 hours or whatever the next morning, I haven't fretted about it. And that may sound like not that big a deal, but I can't tell you in the middle of the night how my mind will churn when I can't get to sleep about the fact that I can't get to sleep. Don't know if anybody can relate to that, but
Anyone else have any other questions or thoughts?
I'm in some writing groups. I find that to be very relaxing and challenging. One of
Did you
them
say?
operates on a prompt. You get a prompt for the week. Everybody writes to that prompt. That's a lot of fun.
Like be able to make connection with people, even though that you're not right there with them. And then it's a great idea for us who aren't so great at writing and coming up with things to write about to have those prompts, right?
I'm really glad you mentioned that, because writing there's a lot of research that shows that writing helps to reduce stress. So that's a great tool. This is a great time when we could bring back letter writing.
who's got the dog?
Are you hearing my dog? Ugh,
Is that
that's even through my mic.
okay?
Yeah, I have a
And
few.
I have one barking in my house too.
All right.
I interrupted. I'm sorry, Bob.
No, go ahead. I'd rather hear from you.
Dorothy, did you want to share?
I'm trying to develop something that I've never had, and that is patience. And when I get on these electrical instruments, I lose my patience, and then I'm upset for an hour or something like that, because I have pride in learning new things, and if I can't learn them, I'm afraid to try. Patience. Are there any clues to that? I've had the problem all my life, so maybe I will need to work on it now.
Well, I'm so glad that you came back to us, that you did what you needed to do and came back. And I think
And I don't know how I got here, but I came back.
Here you are. Self-compassion. We all need a lot of self-compassion these days. I've heard people use the word grace a lot at work, and just people extending more grace to one another, but starting with ourselves is really critical, to just be patient with yourself, have that self-compassion. Well, we're almost to the end of our hour, but we were really hoping to encourage people to just take a moment and think about one thing, one of those small changes that you could make in your life to address one of the 5 core needs, and how that might be something that you make that's specific, that's achievable and realistic, maybe tied to certain times of the day. You don't have to share it, but we just wanted you to take a moment to think about what that might be for yourself.
I've started writing letters on paper with fountain pens to old friends. And it's a lot slower than typing out an email and sending it. but you have to think,
Mhm.
and they write back to you. Basically, creative sessions. I've gotten a lot out of that.
That's lovely. Has everybody had a little bit of a moment to think about one of those small daily actions that you can take? For me, I put on my flannel pajamas as soon as I'm done with work every day.
I do the same thing. I come home and it's getting dark. It's 5 o'clock. What do I need to be dressed up for? I put on my pajamas and close the blinds, and that's it for the day.
You know, for me, this is Carolyn. It's doing something creative, and that usually means some kind of craft kind of thing, whether it's knitting or block printing or letter writing too can be creative, but just doing something fun, bringing back fun.
Yeah, I play in the senior center band, and I miss that.
Mm.
But I have a guitar at home, so I've started playing that and substituting the time.
For me, it's lately it's been meal planning and trying to get creative with that so that I'm more excited about getting off work and starting to cook dinner. And it's luckily worked fairly well so far. I get excited about even the long, difficult dinners to make. So that's been nice. And Bob, I live with a musician, so it's some things that he's doing, playing to himself, like recording himself, and being able to listen to it, and then takes his own notes since he can't play with a band to give some feedback right now.
Well, ladies, it's a little after 4. I'm happy if anybody else wants to share, but I just wanted to, first of all, thank you both for coming, for all that you've shared, and to let people know that this PowerPoint is available. So just email me, Carolyn at thecentercville.org, if you would like a copy of it, which contains all the links that we've been shown. And Rebecca and Alex, I'll let you finish off.
Okay, I'm just going to click through really quickly. I so appreciate having the opportunity today. I do want everyone to know that the state has a line, the VA COPES line, which is a warm line available for anyone to call with stress related to COVID. So there's trained counselors on the end of the line. It is not meant to be a crisis line, but it is a warm line with somebody to just talk to. So 9 to 9, Monday through Friday, and I think 5 to 9 on the weekends. And then this link here, helphappenshere.org/coronavirus. We have lots of information about other virtual mental health offerings at this time. And the coalition that I run, we have a monthly newsletter with information about tips and resources to help support us all and reduce stress during this time. So Caroline Lynn will have all of this information. And again, I really appreciate everyone's time and hope you have that one thing, that one small change that you can try out.
Thank you guys for giving us an hour of your time and spending it with us. Hopefully feeling a little more connected to people, and knowing that you're not alone, and feeling kind of lost in this new routine that we're in. So hopefully some ideas or motivation to bring back something that maybe you were doing and you remember that you really enjoyed, and you can do it now.